Sup guys, it's Alex here and welcome to the 2022 NCAA Tournament Bracketology. It has been like 7 months or so since I posted a video. I just haven't had any off-season content, but now we are back. The college basketball season kicks off today with the Champions Classic. We have Michigan State and Kansas, and then we have the classic Duke and Kentucky. As a Kentucky fan, I am accepting a loss in this game, but we're going to see what happens. Maybe we can pull off a victory. I just hope we don't get destroyed like we did last year against Kansas. But either way, it should be an interesting game. It should be an interesting classic overall. And I am super excited to see what happens in this 2022 NCAA season. We're finally going to have fans back, the band's back. All the tournament sites are going to be like normal instead of all just in different Indiana places. But there is going to be a site in Indianapolis this year, which I am going to try to attend. So that'll be fun. But last year, Baylor was the team that ended up cutting down the nets, and then they lost a couple of people like Davion Mitchell and then Mark Vitale to the draft. But they're coming back reloaded as well. They're going to be a 1 seed, as you see. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and kind of take a look here at Joe Lunardi's bracketology. So top overall seed is Gonzaga, as you can see right there, with likely player of the year, Drew Timme. First team out is Mississippi State, and then last team in is Washington State. Now, at this point in the season, honestly, I'm going to be upfront with you guys. I don't know half of these people, or half of the players on these teams. It'll be very interesting to see kind of how the bracket will shake out. And of course, over the course of this season, I will learn more players. I will learn which teams are actually good, which teams aren't going to live up to preseason expectations, which ones are going to overcome those preseason expectations and have a season for the record books like Dayton did a couple of years ago, or even Baylor last year. I mean, last year, I don't think anybody in the preseason was expecting Baylor to actually win the national championship. So there's that. But kind of taking a look here at the rest of the bubble, last four byes are Florida, BYU, Colorado, St. Mary's. Last four in the playoff games are San Diego State, St. John's, Rutgers, and then Washington State. First four out are Mississippi State, Seton Hall, Oklahoma, and then Iowa, not in that order. And then the next four out are Arizona, who feels like they've been a college, or I guess a team or whatever, that feels like they've been out of it for a long time, ever since kind of the Sean Miller allegations and all that stuff, just like the improper benefits and all that stuff. Since really like 2015, 2017, I want to say, they haven't really been a contender. But then we have Drake, Nevada, there's a Chipotle ad. Then Drake, Nevada, and Creighton as the next four out. Looking at the bracket though, we have our 1 seeds of Gonzaga, Kansas, and then of course Michigan and UCLA. So it should be pretty interesting to see what happens. I'm excited to kind of see how the tournament will shake out once I go ahead and make these picks. 2 seeds are Baylor, Purdue, Villanova, and Texas. 3 seeds are Memphis, Kentucky, my Wildcats, Illinois, and then Duke. And then the last 4 seeds here are going to be Ohio State, Houston, Arkansas, and then Alabama. So without any further ado, you guys know the drill here. I create an Excel bracket every single bracketology whenever I go ahead and see who I think is going to end up winning the NCAA tournament based off of Joe Lunardi's bracketology. It's just a fun way to do it. It's the best way I could find based off of the current internet stuff. There's not really like an interactive bracket where I can do the logos and stuff like I used to do, but this is the way that works. This is what I did last year. So let's go ahead and kick it off here. So Gonzaga versus the winner of Morgan State and Texas Southern. You guys already know that's going to be Gonzaga. LSU and Syracuse. I'll go with LSU here. Those two teams I don't really know much about, to be completely honest with you, at this point in the season. So I'll just go with the higher ranked team there. Oregon and Buffalo, I'm going to go with Oregon. And then Ohio State, who lost to Oral Roberts last year, they're going to end up beating New Mexico State there. St. Bonaventure in Colorado, don't know too much about the Bonnies. I know that they were trying to make a push for the tournament last year, but I think that Colorado will pull off the classic 11-6 upset there. Then Memphis will beat Wright State. Then we're going to have Michigan State, the Spartans of Tom Izzo beat Florida, and then Baylor beat Colgate. Then for a spot in the Sweet 16, we're going to have Gonzaga obviously beat LSU there. I don't think Gonzaga is going to meet too much of a challenge in this region, but you never know. Oregon and Ohio State, I'll go with the team that won in college football this year, because why not? We'll go with Oregon over Ohio State. Colorado and Memphis, I think you got to go with Penny Hardaway's team there with Memphis over Colorado. Michigan State and Baylor, we are going to go with Baylor winning that matchup there. which sets up an Elite Eight matchup between Gonzaga and Baylor, because Gonzaga is going to end up beating Oregon. Then Baylor will beat Memphis. This sets up the rematch of last year's national championship game, Gonzaga and Baylor. It's going to be a lot of storylines, a lot of narratives attached to this game, but I do think Gonzaga will get their revenge for Baylor ending their run at a perfect season last year, and Gonzaga will come out on top in that region. So then we'll move over here again with Kansas and Winthrop. We're going to have Kansas obviously beat Winthrop there. Virginia and Richmond. I'll go with Tony Bennett's squad and Virginia and end up beating Richmond there. Tennessee and UAB. Tennessee's going to win that one, and then Houston will beat UC Santa Barbara. North Carolina and St. Mary's. I do think that North Carolina will end up winning that one there. Then Kentucky will beat Georgia State. Then we're going to go with a 10-7 upset with Louisville over Texas Tech, and then Purdue over Northeastern. Kansas, I think, will be able to beat Virginia there. Then I think that Houston will beat Tennessee. Kentucky will beat North Carolina along with Purdue beating Louisville. I think Purdue could be a team that surprises a lot of people this year, depending on their tournament matchups. But then, for a spot in the Elite Eight, I'm going to go with an upset here. I'm going to go with Houston. They made it to the Final Four last year, ended up losing to Baylor. So I believe in Houston to be able to do that again. 4-1 upset. I have Kansas losing in the Sweet 16. Then Kentucky, I think, will be able to beat Purdue there. Kentucky will probably get off to a rough start to start the season just because it's a typical Kentucky thing to do. But I think in time for the tournament, they'll turn it around and get the 3-2 upset over Purdue. And then I think they will beat Houston to move on to the Final Four. So a bit of a homer pick there. I know a couple of people in the comments hate when I have Kentucky moving on. But I think this Kentucky team's a lot better than last year with all the transfers, all the 5-star recruits. I think this will be a great season for the Wildcats. So then we'll move on down here to the bottom right side of the bracket. UCLA, I think, will be able to handle, obviously, the winner of Bryant and Nicholls State. Virginia Tech will beat West Virginia. Then I'm going to go with an upset pick here, the winner of San Diego State and Washington State. I think San Diego State will win, and then they'll beat Maryland in the 12-5 upset. Got to have at least one of those in your tournament brackets. Then Alabama will beat South Dakota State. Loyola Chicago will beat UConn in 11-6. I don't really know why UConn is projected to be so good this year. I mean, we'll see what happens. Maybe I can learn with that. But then Illinois will beat Furman. Then we're going to have USC beating BYU, and then Texas beating Iona. So then for a spot in the Sweet 16, we're going to have UCLA moving on here past Virginia Tech. Alabama will beat San Diego State. Then we're going to have some fun here, Illinois. I mean, I did pick them to win the national championship last year with Ayoda Nsumu, but now he is gone to the NBA. Kofi Cockburn is leading that Illinois squad. I mean, he's a player of the year contender, kind of like Drew Timme. But narrative streak here again. Loyola Chicago as the 8 seed last year. Upset Illinois as the 1 seed. I think Joe Lunardi had some fun in making this pairing here, so I will go with Loyola Chicago pulling off the 11-3 for some fun in this bracket. It's a preseason bracket. Who cares? So then we're going to have Texas beating USC. That's a rematch of the Rose Bowl game from like 2005, 2006. That was one of my favorite college football games of all time. UCLA and Alabama. These two teams, I believe, had a crazy game in the tournament last year. I think it was that like half-court shot that I want to say Alabama made to force overtime. If I'm not mistaken, that UCLA ended up winning, and I think UCLA will end up winning this game as well. So then we'll have Texas versus Loyola Chicago. As much as I want to pick the Ramblers, you got to go with Texas winning that matchup. So then UCLA and Texas, I am going to go with the 1 seed of UCLA winning that one and moving on to the Final Four. So then over here in the bottom left bracket, last region, we're going to have Michigan moving on past Yale. Xavier, I think, will be able to beat Notre Dame. Florida State with Leonard Hamilton will beat Belmont. Arkansas will beat Liberty. Then Auburn with Bruce Pearl will be able to beat the winner of St. John's and Rutgers. I'd love to see both those two teams in the tournament, but I think that they will fall to Auburn. Duke will beat Southern Utah. Colorado State, I think, can beat Indiana. I just don't trust Indiana with Archie Miller. Actually, I don't know if he's still there or not. I can't remember off the top of my head. Then Villanova, I think, will be able to beat Georgia State. So then first spot in the Sweet 16, Michigan versus Xavier. I'm going to go with Michigan winning that one. Florida State losing to Arkansas. Eric Musselman is doing a great job of building that Arkansas program. Duke, I think, will be able to beat Auburn. And then Villanova will beat Colorado State. Then first spot in the Elite Eight, we're going to have Michigan here moving on past Arkansas. Though I'd love to see Arkansas win that match, but I just don't think it's going to happen. Then I'm going to go with the 3-2 pick here in Duke over Villanova. But then Michigan beating Duke in the Elite Eight to move on to the Final Four. So then we have Gonzaga versus Michigan here. 1 versus 1 seed. I am going to have Gonzaga winning that one. I just don't think that they're going to lose before the national championship based off of this bracket here. And then the other side, as much as I want to pick my Kentucky Wildcats to move on to the national championship game, I am not an idiot. I know that UCLA is better than Kentucky with that, basically their entire team with that crazy run last year as the 11th seed going to the Final Four and having the game of the year, maybe the game of the century, definitely one of the greatest tournament games of all time against Gonzaga last year. We're going to get a rematch of that game here in the national championship, and we are going to have a different result. We are going to have UCLA win this matchup, and I am excited to say that. UCLA hasn't won a national championship in who knows how long, probably since the John Wooden era. But as of this preseason tournament bracket, my first one of the year, I am going to have the UCLA Bruins winning this one. So thank you guys for watching. Really hope you guys enjoyed. Had a lot of fun making it. Glad to be back on YouTube. It's been a while, and I will see you. Actually, tell me what you guys think of my bracket. Let me know your own thoughts in the comment section below. And finally, I will see you all later.